Okay, so let's revise a little bit what we did last week. We learned about what is really the art of all work that Lord Krishna explains in chapter 2. And we learned about this, the effort and that brings about result, and how we should not focus our mind on the result, but rather just focus on the effort. And then we did this one in detail. We read this poem by If by Rudyard Kipling, and then we heard the story of Prince Siddharth about the four miseries of life. And then why do we really need to learn the art of all work to get out of the bondage of this repetitive cycle of the Ferris wheel of birth and death? So that's what we did. And then we heard the story of Alexander the Great, which brought us to text 54 from Bhagavad Gita. Now, for the very first time, Arjun is asking a question to Lord Krishna. He says, what are the symptoms of one, and this is text 54, in case any of you are reading Bhagavad Gita alongside. What are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak, and what is his language? How does he sit, and how does he walk? Now, what do you guys understand from this verse? Anyone wants to give it a try?
I think what Arjun is trying to ask is like, how would someone behave when like their consciousness is merged in transcendence?
Absolutely, very nice. How someone behaves, and how does he speak? What is his language? Doesn't really mean that what is his accent, whether it's American or Indian or British. How does he sit? Doesn't mean whether he's sitting cross-legged or he's sitting straight, or how is he walking. So he's not talking about the externals of all these things. He's talking about the internal stuff, more about where his consciousness is. And like you rightly pointed out, how does a person who is very wise behaves? And why do we need to know that? We need to know that because, for example, if you want to learn music, you find a teacher who's very good at music. You won't look for a teacher who themselves are learning music or who don't even know what music is. So you would need an expert teacher, right? So similarly, in our spiritual life also, you need someone who is an expert in in their spirituality, a good spiritual teacher. So here Arjun is representing all of us and asking this question to Lord Krishna, that what does one look for in a teacher? And that is not all. There are other things also that we need to look in a teacher, but this is the beginning. At least this gives us some idea how a person who's very wise, how he behaves. And also it gives us also like a meter to see where we stand in in our behavior, whether it's a behavior which is done by a wise person or whether it's a behavior done by a foolish person. So let's see. Let's start with this story by story. This is a Sufi story. Have you guys heard of Mullah Nasruddin?
Yeah, I read Twinkle one time.
You did. Okay. So it's a story from Middle Eastern, one of the Middle Eastern folk tales, and it's these are very popular stories. They are stories of wisdom. And so
Yeah, they're Twinkle.
yeah. So Mullah mm-hmm. So Mullah Nasruddin is a very wise person who once what happens, he's invited by a very wealthy man to a party after their festival of Ramadan. So after fasting the whole day, working in the fields, he's very tired, And because when you work in the fields, you are full of sweat, and there may be dirt in your clothes, and you will not end up, I mean, you won't be going in your best of clothes to do work in the fields, right? Even when you go for gardening, you won't wear your most expensive clothes while gardening. You'll wear something that you won't mind getting damaged or dirty. So he was in that kind of attire, and he was hungry the whole day. So when it was time for the feast in the evening, he just didn't have the energy, didn't have the time, especially because it was Ramadan, to change. He just went directly in his whatever attire he was in, and however he was not really clean and tidy and neat, and he was not at the best of his looks. So when he went there, the guards who were guarding the house or letting the guests in didn't let him in. He said, "No, but I've been invited by the person who's throwing this party." They said, "No, no, no." And then they said, "Okay, wait a minute, let me go and check." Then they go inside, and the person goes inside and tells the wealthy man that, there is a guy who's really almost wearing tattered clothes, and he says that he's been invited to the party. But then the wealthy man, he comes out and he looks at Mullah Nasruddin, and he really doesn't identify him, or he just pretends not to. He says, "No, I don't know who he is." So Mullah Nasruddin leaves the party and he goes home. He dresses up in his most expensive clothes. He wears a nice suit or whatever their traditional dress is. He wears very nice, beautiful shoes, nice hat, everything. So he's very well dressed. He comes back, and now he wants to again join the party. No one stops him this time, and they greet him with lot of with very nicely. They greet him with lot of respect, and when he comes inside, everyone greets him. The man who invited him to the party also greets him, and people come and talk to him. Everything is going well, just like in a regular normal party. Then what happens, all of a sudden people start noticing him. He's doing a very weird thing. He's taking all the food, and actually he's putting his food in his, either he's feeding food to his coat and to his shoes and to his hat and everything. So now everyone starts looking at him, and then people question him, "What are you doing? I mean, this is such a foolish behavior. Why are you doing whatever you are doing?" Then he says, "You know what?" Then he tells the whole story, that what happened. He said, "Actually, I'm not the one who was invited to the party. It's my clothes were invited to the party, and my shoes were invited to the party, not me. So that's why I'm feeding my dress. It's not for me." So what does this story tell us with regards to this verse? Can you guys relate it?
Don't judge a book by its cover.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The party host was treating him only by how his clothes looked. If he looked tattered and everything, they would say, "No, don't come in." And if he was wearing cool clothes, come in.
Yeah, absolutely.
I kind of have an example. So if there's like someone sitting on the street, or they're sitting on a bench, and they are like they're like wearing nice clothes, and you don't think they're homeless or something. But if they are wearing like ripped up, like kind of dirty clothes, a lot of people would assume that they're homeless. And sometimes I'm with my friends, and I'm like walking back. This was before quarantine, and we're walking to their car because I'm gonna go home with them or something. And they see like a homeless person sitting on a bench, or like they don't even look that homeless. Like they don't look homeless at all, but they're black. And they said, and the mom that was going to take me home said, "Oh, careful, it's a homeless person. Let's move." And the guy looked up and he looked very offended and he looked at us. And I said, "How do you know he's homeless?" And she said, and then she started saying, "Well, and then she's like, "I don't know. I just do."
Yeah, such a nice example, Sloan, from your it's a real life example.
How do you know he just wasn't like a guy in fancy clothes who was sitting on a bench?
Well, he was like, I didn't actually think he was homeless, but the mom thought he was homeless just because he was black and his clothes weren't like as nice as hers, and he was just wearing sweatpants and like a leather jacket.
So she just
Can I share an example?
Yeah, Harshita, go ahead.
So there was like this man, he wasn't wearing like really clean clothes. He was wearing kind of like ripped up clothes. And like this girl, she like kind of tripped over. He asked if she wanted to like come in his car with them so he could drive her to the hospital just in case if she was like injured or anything. But then she told him to get back, like 6 feet Corona. And then after he went in his car and she saw it was like a really expensive car, like super expensive, something she probably couldn't afford. And then she started asking if she could come. And then man was like, no, 6 feet Corona. And she like went away all ashamed.
Wow. Thank you all for sharing.
Wait, where did you hear that story?
So
I saw it like an article.
I think what it means is that just because you shouldn't like judge a person by his outside looks. You should first understand his feelings and his personality before you hate or like him.
Absolutely, Yashwant, very nice. So yeah, thank you all for sharing all your experiences. They were all very nice. So yes, so what this is telling us, that we don't choose a teacher based on how they are just, you see them, oh, they are meditating so nicely, they are dressed up so nicely, just like a saint. And so, okay, this person is really advanced in his wisdom. That doesn't make a person advanced in his wisdom. So here, Prabhupada is telling us, or Arjun is asking, that how does he speak? There are specific things that we need to make a notice of when we choose our spiritual teacher, and also when we assess our own spiritual growth. And that's what Lord Krishna will give us more details about that. Then Lord Krishna now starts answering. He said, "O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification." And what does that mean, sense gratification? Which means that basically, our own senses, we do things for our own senses, for our own happiness, which arise from mental concoction. And when his mind, thus purified, finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. So just think about it. Whatever activities we do, what do we do them for? To seek happiness, right? So when we engage our senses, our hands, our tongue, our mouth, our ear, our nose, our legs, arms, whatever, all our senses, why do we engage them? Most of the time we engage them for seeking happiness. So a person who is seeking happiness from outside is not a wise person. But here, Lord Krishna tells us, a wise person is one who finds satisfaction in the self alone, that is within. They find satisfaction from inside, not from outside. Just like we see this billboard ad saying, where do you seek your happiness? Open a bottle of Coke and you're opening happiness. Do you guys agree?
No,
right?
No.
So and why we are talking about happiness and wisdom and a wise person? Because wise person doesn't mean they are not happy. It doesn't mean that they are not happy from within. They are happy. They are very blissful. They are seeking a lot of joy. But the only difference between us and wise people is that people who are wise, who are spiritually very advanced, they are seeking happiness from inside. They are seeking bliss from inside. They are not going outside buying a bottle of Coke because that will make me happy. They are not buying toys because that will make me happy. They are not buying new iPhones because that will make me happy. They're not shopping to find the happiness, and they're not partying to find the happiness. Then, but then they find happiness within themselves. Now, what is wrong? Partying does give you happiness. Shopping does give you happiness. Probably drinking Coke or something else, drinking a nice drink does give you happiness. So, so what is the problem? What do you guys see any problem here?
Could I answer?
Mm-hmm.
So it's mainly temporary. It's not everlasting. So maybe the party lasts for 1 hour, or if you like a sweet a lot, and if you keep on eating it, like you're gonna like it, but if you keep on eating it, you're not gonna like it. You're gonna want to stop. So it's like very temporary, and we kind of discussed this in last class also, that how things like material things are very temporary, but like we need something everlasting.
Very nice.
I think it's that just because you have that nice drink, and I agree to whoever said that, and I also like if you're drinking something or anything, if you like something that has a certain amount, it's not gonna last forever. It's happiness for like 10 minutes and it's all gone. And yeah.
Very nice. Yes. So it's all temporary. That's the first point. And the next one is that repeatedly doing the same activity will not give you happiness, not give you happiness for too long. Just like Samriddhi and Yashwant both pointed out, that you eat a sweet and maybe it will give you happiness, maybe 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, but if you keep on repeating that, it's not going to give you happiness for too long. Maybe partying will give you happiness for an hour or two, but if you think that you can just party all day long and be happy, that's not going to happen. So,
Excuse me, can I say something?
Go ahead, Sloan.
Well, I like music a lot, and well, I play tabla. It's actually in the background over there. But and I have this smartphone playing a lot in my recitals tomorrow. And when I started playing tabla, I really loved it. Like, it was the best thing in the world. Like, I went like a sugar rush. And then as it kind of got more like strict and like almost down to earth. But when that happened, I kind of lost interest and I moved on to other things. And I moved on to piano and trombone and all that other stuff. But then I learned that, and then I did it, and I kind of played it again, and I enjoyed it. I made myself enjoy it. I kind of faked it till I made it, and I felt happy again. So sometimes if you get like a new toy or something, and you play with it, and you just got it, and you got it for Deepavali, and you're playing with it, and then you lose interest. And years go by, and you haven't touched it. You totally forgot about it. And one day you come across it again, and then you like it because you don't really like when you get used to things. You like the enjoyment when you like the freshness, like if you open a Sprite can, it fizzes at the beginning. You like that part the most, but it's not that you just don't like it.
Yes, thank you, Sloan. Very nice point. That yes, I mean, if we have to give it a break, right? In material, when it's a material endeavor, we have to give it a break for any activity that we are doing to give us fun again. If we continue to do it over and over and over again, we do lose interest, and it doesn't give us the happiness that we were getting in the beginning. And what is true happiness? True happiness is one who is satisfied within oneself. And mantra meditation is one way how you can be satisfied within yourself. And other ways are when we link all our activities in devotion to God. So we could be eating, we could be partying, we could be playing tabla, or we could be playing any other musical instrument. But when we do it in a feeling of devotion towards God, that's when we will feel very, very satisfied and we will never get bored. So that's the difference. So that's how we judge a wise person, that they don't need outside things to keep them happy. They are satisfied within themselves. And then next criteria that Lord Krishna gives, one who is not disturbed in mind even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. So what are these threefold miseries? Let's break this down. One who is not disturbed in mind even amidst the threefold miseries. And what are threefold miseries? There are three Sanskrit words for this: adhyatmik, adhi bhautik, adhi daivik. Can you guys repeat with me? Adhyatmik. Can you all say adhyatmik?
Adhyatmik,
Adhi bhautik,
Adi Bhautik,
adhi daivik.
Adi Daivik.
Yeah, and we'll now we'll hear some examples of all these three miseries. So first of all, let's go to Adi Bhautik, which we happen to go through all the time, right? So these are the miseries inflicted by other living beings. So here it can be broken down into Adi Bhautik. So Bhuta means other living entities. So other living entities, they do inflict a lot of suffering on us. Miseries simply means suffering. So mosquitoes, when they bite us, they do give us some suffering, right? And let me give you a little more practical example. For example, you're driving, or your mom is driving, or your dad is driving, and you get a parking spot, which you didn't even notice that there was actually another person who was waiting for that spot, and you took the spot and you did not notice. So when you get out, the person starts yelling at you, screaming at you, and you don't even know what happened. And they tell you that this was their parking spot, but you actually didn't see them. You didn't do it on purpose. You didn't see them. And they keep on yelling at you. They start calling you names, and they say other bad stuff. So that that ruins your day. You were just having a great day, and your day ends up getting ruined without any of your own fault, at least not intentionally. So that is called Adi Bhautik misery. A person who is a wise person and who is like we said, we are talking about people who are advanced in spiritual life, will not be disturbed. You and me would be disturbed, right? If someone is yelling at us and swearing at us, we will be disturbed. But a person who's very wise doesn't get disturbed. The next one is adhyatmik, suffering which is caused by our own mind and our own body. For example, you were doing fine with your health. You loved your bread, and your mom made different kinds of breads for you. Or you love milk, and this is a real life story that happened with me. I loved milk, and anything made up of milk, any sweet or anything made out of milk, I just loved it. And then all of a sudden, I developed this milk allergy. It's called, in technical terms, it is called lactose intolerance. And I wasn't able to eat any of the milk products, not even drink milk, not even eat paneer, and not even eat any of the sweets. Indian sweets, we have wonderful preparations, right? I can't eat cheese, I can't eat pizza. So almost. I lost all the fun in eating. So that's called adhyatmic suffering that comes from our own body. Similarly, a wise person doesn't get disturbed by that. They are stable. They don't get upset by all these things. They just accept what it is. Then next is adhidevik, miseries that come from natural calamities. For example, right now we are going through this coronavirus thing, that is an adhidevik suffering. Say, for example, if you had relatives who were flying from some other city or from some other country, actually, not just city, they are flying from some other country, and there is a snowstorm. So all in your city, so all the flights are diverted to another city where they have to stay for another 2 days, and you were almost ready to pick them up. You had all the plans and you were ready to pick them up on the airport, and everything was just set up. But all of a sudden, what happened? They are not coming now. And not only that, they are in some other city for 2 days, and when they come back, when you go and pick them up, there is traffic jam, unbelievable traffic jam, because all the flights which were delayed are now coming. And so it takes you hours and hours, first of all, to reach the airport, and then it takes you hours and hours for you to wait on the airport. And in addition, it's the coldest day in your city. And not only that, your relatives don't even have a phone because they come from a different country. So they don't even have a phone, and you cannot connect with them in any way. You just have to wait for them. And when they come outside, and you guys are all familiar, right? When we just wait outside and we don't put our car in the parking because our relatives, when they come from out of the country, they don't have a phone to get in touch with us. So sometimes we just park in the parking lot, just outside the terminal. So it's a suffering, right? But people who are very wise, they don't get upset by these kinds of sufferings. So that's what it means, that their mind is not disturbed with threefold miseries, and they're not elated when there is happiness. For example, if someone said, oh, you are such a nice person, you are a wonderful person, you are so kind, and you help us out, and there can be no person better than you, or you are so much better than XYZ. So that gives us happiness, right? When people praise us, and when people talk good things about us, that gives us happiness. But sages of steady mind, they are just sober. It neither gives them happiness nor does it give them any sadness in their mind or heart. So they are free from any fear, anger. If someone is calling us name, we would be angry, right? But they are not. People who are of steady mind are not. So this is the way how we make that assessment of a person with a steady mind. Okay, so we'll do the story of Jad Bharat very quickly, which will tell us that how does a sage of steady mind look like in real life. So this is a story from Srimad Bhagavatam. So Jad Bharat is a very elevated person spiritually, but nobody knows that he's a very elevated person, and even his family members don't know that he's a very elevated person, because he rarely talks and he rarely tells what is in his heart. So he barely talks, and everyone thinks him to be a dumb person. So believing that he's a dumb person, his step brothers, they ask him to take care of the paddy fields, paddy meaning rice fields. And he actually stands up like on a high chair, like kind of thing, like a scarecrow. And in the night time, he takes care of, he protects the fields. So what happens then, a dacoit leader of a dacoit, leader of some robbers or dacoit. They are looking for a man who looks like who would look like an animal, like man animal, who looks dumb and is not very intelligent, is very dull minded person. So he sees Jad Bharat, and he, from outside, he sees him as a dull person. So he actually captures him and brings him. And why do they need a man? Because they want to sacrifice it to goddess Kali, who for getting a son. He's been told that you'll get a son if you sacrifice a man animal in front of goddess Kali. So they bring him, they clean him up, they give him new dress to wear, they put ornaments on him, and they do everything and oil him, put nice perfume scent on him. They do everything, and then they are just getting ready for the sacrifice. They offer incense and arati and whatever to goddess Kali, and they're almost ready to to uh, to sacrifice him. And then but Jad Bharat is not afraid during that time, the whole episode.
Shingaris, it's already 6:45.
Okay, just let me quickly finish this. So he's not afraid. Thank you, Samriddhi. He's not afraid. He's fearless for his. You and I would be afraid, right? But he's fearless. So this is the character of a sage who's very steady-minded. Then the story goes on, and probably we'll continue that later. So he's protected. Ultimately, he's protected because goddess Kali actually comes out, and she comes in her real form and kills all these robbers. So he's protected. But we are focusing on is on Jad Bharat's consciousness. He is completely fearless. So so I think we'll just do it next week. Then there's a short video. We'll do it next week, and I'm going to divide you guys into your breakout rooms, and then you guys discuss, make a leader from your team, and then whatever you like the best about this whole discussion that we had. Okay, you guys are all set.
अभी आ जाएंगे दूसरे
Okay, so all right, so you want to go ahead. Which group wants to go first?
ये सारे ग्रुप्स आए नहीं है.
It's okay.
Okay, I'll take my group.
Okay.
If that's okay with you guys. All right, so I had Sloan, Vinay Rai, and Yashwant, and we basically talked about how we all liked the story of Jata Bharat, and how like you should never judge a person by what they look like. And then I got like the example that, let's say, if a person is employing someone, and I read many stories how like a lot of businessmen lost good people just because they judged them by how they looked, or like because they were not short, or maybe they were a different race, and even though they're those people really good. So that's like what I thought of.
Okay.
Also, like, kind of adding on the like, leaders can't be biased, or else they will kind of fall down the rank of being a leader. They'll be known as someone who is biased, but they also people just won't trust them anymore, and trust is a big thing.
Such a nice point, Sloan. Thank you.
I guess I can go next for my group. In my group, there was Samriddhi, there was Naya, and there's Swarnab.
Just
And
a second, Anshi, I just
yeah.
want to check with Kashvi. Kashvi, do you have anything else to add on?
Not really. I agree with I'm sorry, I can't really pronounce your name, but you have that Minecraft gamer thing.
Okay. What about Minecraft gamer thing?
As his
Oh,
picture.
me. Oh, Kartavya, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so what did you want to say?
Oh, you
Well,
said
I agree with what you said.
agree with that.
Oh, okay.
Right? Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Yeah, Anshi, go ahead.
So in my group, we kind of discussed the moral of the story that we were talking about. So one of the morals was like, you don't judge a book by its cover, because he appeared like dumb and like not very smart, but in truth he was like very wise. And then the second thing that we talked about is how like not to be affected by like trivial matters, because we learned about like the threefold misery thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we also talked about like karma and how eventually karma did come, so there's no need for him to do some kind of punishment or do like revenge or anything.
Yeah, I just want to add on to some stuff we talked about. We also like I said that the Nashidangula story really struck out to me, and I said I really like the place of how the saintly persons are not affected by that, and I would like to be not affected by that also one time of my life. So
yes. Yeah, very good. Okay. Anyone else from Anshi's group?
Okay, I'd also like to add that karma really understanding karma and how it will affect you, and how everything good or bad affects you because of your own actions somewhere in the past. It really helps in like getting that not unaffected mood.
Very nice. Thank you. Okay, so we can move on to the next group. Yeah.
So in my group, I had Suhani, I had Ishan, and I had Saren.
Who's speaking?
Arav.
Okay.
So basically we discussed that like.
Arav, can you be a little bit loud, please? I can't hear you well.
Okay, so can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so basically, we discussed about how we shouldn't judge a person by how they look, but how their personality and like, yeah. And we talked about the threefold miseries, and like also that like people who are elevated, they don't like care about material things, and they want the spiritual happiness, not material happiness.
Okay, thank you, Arav. Anyone else wants to add on to something in Arav's group? Okay, so next group wants to go on, or are we done?
My group hasn't shared yet.
Okay, go ahead, Harshita.
In my group, I had Anya and Swarnika, and we talked about how you should, even though someone like takes something of yours or does something bad, you should never plot revenge, and you should calmly wait for revenge or calmly think about it, and you should never judge someone's outsides because you don't know how they can be on the inside.
Very good. Very nice. Yes. Okay. All right. So, okay. So all that is good. Now, I'll send the groups by today or tomorrow, and then you guys can start collaborating with each other. But people who are writing can do that. And Saren, I'll send you some topics then. Also, in case if you have 2 people in a group who are writing, that is also fine. Just work together and come up with your writing and your own page, or maybe 2. depending on how much material you have in your thing. And I think it won't be called a newsletter, rather it would be a magazine. So whenever the ones who are interested in the layout thing should actually look for some ways to do how to do a layout for a magazine rather than a newsletter, because especially Anshi, you're so resourceful, looks like, with all this technical stuff. So you must look at how magazines are designed. Okay.
Yeah, okay. I'll see if I can find some things.
Okay. Yeah, and then you can share with me just like you did in the past. And then the other thing is, last time most of you had left, but a couple of you were very interested in learning the chanting of Bhagavad Gita. So so now the ones who are interested in learning the shlokas and learning Sanskrit prayers, I want to ask you, would you guys be interested in like learning the chapters, or would you guys be interested in something like 100 most important verses of Bhagavad Gita? Would you guys be rather interested in that, or would you guys be rather interested in just learning, reciting the whole chapter? Not necessarily you may know the meaning all the time, because it's just hard to remember all the meanings. But that's my personal preference, but I'll go with whatever you guys prefer. My personal preference is doing like 100 most important shlokas of Bhagavad Gita and learning their meaning and understanding that, and also learning the Sanskrit part of it.
I feel like we should do we should learn the chapters, because if we learn the chapters along with the chapters, we'll probably be able to learn the quotes as well.
Okay, but memorizing one chapter will take you at least a minimum of couple of weeks if you do it every day.
I kind of have an idea. So let's just say right now we're studying like the second chapter, the third chapter, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we could do like the few most important quotes out of the second or third chapter instead of doing like out of the whole Gita.
I think so too. Now, give me a thumbs up, whoever agrees with this one, and then we'll do the other chapter thing. Give me a thumbs up for 100 most important shlokas or 150 most important shlokas of Bhagavad Gita.
Okay, like I think people already read about this, but like I really want to do like name our groups after like different names of Krishna, like Shyamasundara, Chitananda, because that's fun. You're muted. You're muted.
So thumbs up for Swarna for most important shlokas. Who else? I couldn't see your thumbs up. Okay, Sloan. Suhani. Anyone else? Anshi, I know. Kartavya. Okay, anyone else? Swarnika. Harshita. Okay, but Harshita, you want to go for the whole chapter, right? Or you're okay with either ways?
I'm okay with either way.
Okay, now who all wants to memorize the whole chapters? And you have to know that it will take time and you have to do it every day. Only then you'll be able to memorize the whole chapters. So say, for example, one chapter might take you like 5 to 6 weeks to memorize it. So how many thumbs up am I getting for this one? Okay, so looks like everyone wants to, Saren wants to learn the whole chapter. Okay. Anyone else?
I still think we should do like the top few ones out of each chapter, not like the top few ones out of the whole Gita, because then we would miss over like a whole bunch.
Yeah, but we just want to hear from everyone, right? That okay. So okay, we have most of the.
I guess I'm okay with either way.
Okay, so I think we'll start with 100 most important verses, and then we can move on to reciting the whole chapters. But first, I think we should start with 100 most important verses of Bhagavad Gita. And then
that sounds good.
I will send in a WhatsApp group the time for that one. Give me 1 second. So, okay. So I'll send the time. Either it will be Saturdays or Sundays. I'll send the time. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. All right
I
then.
mean, Saturday is a little bit busy for me. Sunday's much better though.
Sunday is much better. Okay. So we'll see. I'll give 2 or 3
Yeah, same.
options and then we'll see whatever works for the majority of kids.
It depends if you have time, but some people can make it on Sunday, some people can make it on Saturday. But if you have time,
Yeah, it depends on what timing it is.
yeah. But if she has time, I think she should do one group on Saturday and one group on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'll have that much of time.
Or what about on a weekday, everyone is free, like at 7 or something?
Yeah, weekdays are much better for me. Like Wednesdays are especially good.
Same.
Okay.
Same.
All right.
I don't have
Yeah.
much work.
Same here.
Same here.
Wednesday's good.
Okay. We'll see. What
Yeah, for Wednesday.
It has to be like after, like maybe at 4:30 or something, or maybe like 5.
Yeah, sure. After school, anytime Wednesday is fine with me.
Okay. All right. So I'll send some times, 1 or 2
fine.
from a weekday and then from weekend also. And then you guys can let your parents know what works for you. Okay.
Just a second. Sringaras Mataji.
Yeah.
So like, can we name our groups after like different names of Krishna, like Shyamasundara
Yeah,
or
sure,
Achyutananda? Yeah, it's like
that's a
I
cool.
remember we did that. Like in the cleaning groups.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Yes.
a very
Okay.
cool idea, Kartavya.
Okay, but no one should take the name Krishna. We'll just use other names.
That would be extremely uncreative.
Yeah, exactly. If you just borrowed Krishna for one of them.
All right. Okay then. Hare Krishna, and I'll see you guys next week.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna, bye.
Thank you.
Krishna, thank you.
Hare
Bye.
Hare Krishna, bye.
Bye. See you next time. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.